So let's have this conversation. We are talking about the Constitution, right? We celebrated 10 years of the promulgation of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 on the 27th of August. And we also remember the president the day before that had told us, you know what, let's not get caught up in this whole thing of, being fixated about not changing the Constitution. We need to start thinking, now that we've celebrated 10 years, now that we've had this Constitution for 10 years, let's also start thinking of what next? What's the next phase of the Republic? What do we need to do to look at the reality of what we have seen, reality of what we've lived with now with this Constitution, and start looking at what we can change? We spoke with some leaders, a person like Martha Karua, the party leader of NARC Kenya, and she said, you know what, yes, the president has a right to speak that way, but respectfully, I do not agree that this is a constitutional moment. We still have a lot of implementation of this constitution to do. But then there are those others who have said, yeah, we have gotten to a point where we've implemented the constitution and we have come to reality of things that need to happen. The Nyeri deputy governor, for instance, who told us, look, 10 years we have seen, for instance, as chair of the National Deputy Governors Forum, she was saying the reality of things right now is deputy governors are just sitting in office and they need to be put to use by the people that elect them. So some of these things we can change. We can look at how best do we ensure that devolution works for the people of Kenya.
It is something that will never end, really. Because even with every generation and with the ever-changing times and the situations we find ourselves in, even our own constitution and our laws have to resonate with these changes for them to be fully beneficial to the citizenry. So that we have in the debate is a good thing, and this debate will continue. And it must continue. And it must be allowed to actually proceed to its very logical conclusion. And the logical conclusion is, at this point in time, this is what we believe will work. It's like this debate that we keep reading about in the Senate. Let it continue. Because with the continuation of that debate, we then get to discuss other things that ordinarily we wouldn't discuss if that debate was not there. And we also get to see just how exactly our senators think. And also how they think of us.
I think the conscious is then that it has been time-bound, or that it should be time-bound, and say that within a certain period of time, decisions should be made or minds should be made up. But I think the thing with a conversation like this is that you still have so many opinions joining the circus, throughout all of this. So I think also putting a cap on this discussion, sometimes you say to yourself, is there a time by which you should have a constitution that seems to be working for everybody, and at one time? Or do you say that it has worked for everybody with what we're facing at the current time? The constitution as it is has worked. As those things may change, we'll find that it's necessary to make a further amendment to see that it is suiting the needs of people at that time. So I think that it's also a conversation that needs to continue to be looked at as something that is fluid. In terms of something being set in stone, it then becomes more and more apparent every day that it can't be.
See, had this discussion not gone for as long as it has, the need for there to be a specific time limit wouldn't be happening. They would ask, but why must it be an issue? It's now becoming apparent that it is an issue. Other things will also come up. There are things we actually can't even see now. We can't even understand.
Will keep coming up that will affect this same discussion that we're talking about. Because what is peculiar at this time, in another 5 years, will definitely change.
Yes, it will.
So then you need to now keep it open and say, well, it's possible that we could have this conversation later. But for what we are dealing with right now, are there changes that are needed? Are there things that we need to take into consideration to make it then possible for people to live within the geographical boundaries of this country? Is it necessary to do at this time? Are certain things needed to be taken into consideration to make it happen? Then absolutely yes.
Eric always reminds us that our constitution begins with we, the people of Kenya, the real owners. It's unfortunate that we are absentee landlords. We actually own the constitution, but we've decided that other people should take charge of it. Now, these discussions simply bring to the fore your ownership, your rights, and the things that need to be done, and even how to do it. So, let these discussions continue. Unpleasant as it may be, you may be expelled from 3 villages, but there's 6 more to go.
Let's bring in somebody who understands the Constitution as well. And this is a senior lawyer. She is an MP. She's serving her second term in Parliament. And this is Kandara MP Alice Wahome. Good morning, Mheshimiwa.
Good morning, Eric. How are you, 5-7?
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you guys? How are you doing, guys?
Fine.
We
thank
are
you.
well,
We're
thank you,
We're
Mheshimiwa.
well, thank you.
Okay, here I am.
Mheshimiwa, welcome. And thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to the
All
Situation
the way
Room.
from Kandara. Yes, all the way from Kandara.
How is Kandara this morning? Is it raining?
Yes, it's okay. It's just a bit cold like this.
Mm.
Now
Oh.
I'm in Nairobi.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about this constitution. We have just celebrated 10 years of the constitution. I keep arguing, though, that from my side, it's just been 7 years of actually living the constitution. The first 3 years were kindergarten. We really shouldn't. But anyway, let's just say 10 years of the constitution, Mheshimiwa. And what's your view of it in terms of how far we have gone into the implementation of the constitution, how we have lived this constitution so far?
Okay, I will agree with the majority of Kenyans that we have a very progressive constitution. Not just Kenyans, actually. It has been lauded worldwide that we have a very democratic, very progressive constitution. The last, we must recognize it is 10 years, and the baby is now 10 years. And there have been gains because, one, we did take off as a country to implement the constitution. And therefore, what we should be doing is looking at the gains and the losses, or where we are stuck and the reasons why we are stuck. But that's not something that you can force. That is something that you would have to come, it's still progressively. That is something that will have to be generated by Kenyans themselves as the implementation takes place. So we've done, maybe we could say, on a balance scale, you could say 50-50. We are there, but we would have been able to be in a better place had we the right, correct attitude, had we proper goodwill from the implementers of this constitution, and of course, had Kenyans been more vigilant. So I would call upon Kenyans to be more vigilant if they want to see better results in terms of this constitution.
Mheshimiwa, in your opinion, what would this vigilance entail, apart from just opening your eyes and seeing it?
Looking at it, no. The Constitution is a document that was developed and enacted by Kenyans themselves. And it is not possible that we are going to leave to any one single person or any singular group or any individual or any person from out there. It is us. What I'm saying that, what are these things that I'm talking about that have not gone correctly? If you look at the aspirations, from the word go from the first article, the sovereignty, then from sovereignty you come to the republic in chapter 2, then you go to citizenship, then you go to Bill of Rights. The document is robust. The aspirations and expectations of Kenyans was that, one, their lives will change. Of course, the change is not expected to be drastic. But the impact of that change is something by now we should be feeling very, very deeply. For example, one of the key areas where Kenyans were really looking forward is the Bill of Rights. The protection of Kenyans as a people in the Bill of Rights. The second one, if you ask me, is the devolution. You can see the stalemate in the Senate. You can see the demand for more resources. You can see the allocation of revenue is still a big challenge. You can see the corruption and lack of proper accountability and use of those funds, either by the national government or by the county government. You can see how Kenyans are interacting with their lives. Are we better? Are we poorer? I would say it's like we are poorer, which is really not what was expected. The socio-economic rights in the Bill of Rights, the human rights, freedoms of expression, democracy, inclusivity, equality of all persons, and equity. These were issues that should be starting to bear properly. But you know what? If you look also at the judiciary, because as a country, we expect parliament and the judiciary to be key arms of government in this implementation processes. And then, of course, the independent commissions, the police, the National Police Service Commission, Judicial Service Commission, look at the stalemate in the appointment of the judges, in the appointment of the judges by the head of state. Why is there a problem? Come back to Parliament. How is Parliament operating or functioning? Can Kenyans give us a tick at 80%, 100%, or at 10%? You'll find that right now, the independence of Parliament, independence of the judiciary, those key institutions, Eric, have received the greatest onslaught.
But it sounds to me,
from the executive.
when I listen to you and all those things that you've just listed, then I fail to see how you can say we have reached 50% of implementation. Sounds to me like you're only giving us a 2% at best.
You know why I'm saying that? Some of these things, Eric, can happen just like, because we have the framework, the legal statutes are already in place. Majority of the legal statutes are already in place. If you look at the document itself, it is available. We have a constitution that we are supposed to be implementing, not lamenting. By the way, okay, I don't want to sound like I'm lamenting, but we know we are celebrating 10 years. So a no date is inevitable by Kenyans, even by our neighbors, even by the entire world, to see how Kenya has done. Because if you look at this document, we did not just give it to ourselves. There were partners that walked along with us, Kenyan people, and this is a covenant, Eric. It's, when I listen to some people talking about that we should prepare for a referendum in December, but you know what, we should, and I don't know, and I'm taking this too because also there are us Kenyans who have fallen into that trap or into that narrative or into that decision, The head of state, with the greatest respect, and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga seem to now be sending messages that we should start preparing for receiving of the BBI, and from the BBI, the referendum. Let me just say, Eric, why the fact that we have the document, we should be saying, where have we gone right? Where have we gone wrong? And how can that then be addressed? And we have not gone wrong because of the insufficiency. I want to be clear. Not because of inadequacy of the Constitution, but because of lack of goodwill, because people are not willing to be bound by the Constitution. And I want to remind
lack of
Kenyans
goodwill by whom exactly?
And if I may ask on top of that, when you say people are not willing to be bound by what the Constitution says, whom exactly are we speaking of?
I need to expound on that and say the implementers of this Constitution, top on the list is the executive. Followed very closely there is Parliament. And then, of course, we come to judiciary. And again, then Kenyans, because Kenyans must continuously call the executive, Parliament, and judiciary to account. Am I maybe getting clearer?
Yep.
Yes.
So the executive is a very big roadblock or a big avenue to achieving most of these things. And if I just want to refer to a case in point, two cases in point. We have a problem in the appointment of the judiciary. When you look through the articles that lead to the appointment, the scrutiny, the vetting, the interviewing, the processing, the Constitution gives a simple but very honorable role to the head of state, that of appointing the judiciary judges after the vetting, after the completion of the process by the Judicial Service Commission. If you listen to the arguments around why the appointment has not taken place, is like the president is not finding his role in that process of appointment.
Yeah.
But I think the Attorney General has failed to explain it, head of state, to His Excellency the President that, look, you have two appointees, a man and a woman, in the JSC, so they do receive information or consultation with the President and also the head of the Public Service the Commission. There is a commissioner from there.
Yeah.
And of course, those are, so that is a big failure. And the judiciary is one of the institutions, government arms, that are supposed to be delivering service to the country. So that's we are stuck without 40 judges.
This standoff,
Then
however,
the two-thirds gender rule. Parliament right now is staring at a dissolution. Maybe we can come to that later.
yeah.
But this standoff is not good.
Let me
the
just go back to this
yeah.
standoff before we move to the other points. The standoff on the
Yes.
appointment of judges. One
Yes.
could argue that this is actually now us seeing the implementation of the Constitution in full effect, where we are talking about what's the understanding of the spirit and letter of this Constitution by the various arms of government. So the head of the executive could argue and say, look, in my understanding, that I should have a role to play in terms of the appointment. The head of the judiciary could argue, and we've seen them arguing before the two heads of judiciary so far, saying, no, you don't have a role, you only have a ceremonial role. And the legislative arm of government could also be weighing in on this particular one, on setting the stage and saying, this is what is happening. If there's some sort of lacuna in the understanding of the law, how can we amend this? How can we make it very clear? This could be argued that this is actually the Constitution being implemented. As you remember, in 2005, we had the similar issue of appointment of judges where the president wanted to have a more direct say. This is the same thing that's playing out again.
You see, if you have been given two commissioners as the president, then unless you are saying you want to sit in there, the commissioners that you have are supposed to bring the material and information and consultation from the head of state to be able then to inform the JSC commission that, look, we have a problem. The head of state has and he is entitled to that. The head of state has a problem with so-and-so getting this appointment because of this. Because, there is a process before you reach to the appointing, which is now which is at that stage a ceremonial role.
Yeah.
And if there were no commissioners representing the president, consulting with the and there is nothing that stops the president through his office consulting even with the judiciary, with the chief justice, because at that level, these are independent institutions mandated by the people of Kenya to guard the space, the democratic space, the political space, the governance space. So, and we cannot forget where we have come from as a country, where there was overbearing by the executive. The presidency had become a problem to Kenyans. That, as you say, the spirit of this constitution was, of course, to ensure that arbitrary decisions, roadside directions, and basically trampling on the rights and the democracy, the governance of a country is not left to one single person or one institution, and that the institutions that were mandated, let us remind ourselves that this constitution is our document, and nobody is above the constitution. That we are supposed to be consulting the constitution. You don't have to say, I don't feel like, or it is not okay. Kenyans wanted it that way. That, look, you will not be the one appointed, because appointment of judges is just one reference that we are making, because it's a critical aspect.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the one influencing judges, because judiciary had become also like a laughing stock. There was a lot of baggage, both from the executive. There were judges specifically given mandates or authority, directed orders from above prior to the making of the constitution. And that's why Kenyans removed that specific role to a single institution. So I just think that we just need to be loyal, promote, and protect the constitution. We constitutional office holders like the head of state, members of parliament, all these offices, we do swear to pay loyalty, to promote and to protect the Constitution. And therefore, Eric, I think that that is one way. Then I will do, and therefore Kenyans must understand that there is a space, there is a place for the presidency. And even after making the appointment, nothing stops. Because if you have some material that you feel that should stop somebody from occupying a constitutional office, and constitutional offices are key offices,
Yep.
then there is a process of removal still within the Constitution and the appointment of in fact, within 14 days, if the president were to receive a petition from any single person, from Kenyans, through the JSC process, then within 14 days, he is required to actually suspend the judge.
We are speaking with Mheshimiwa Alice Wahome. She is the MP for Kandara Constituency. She is a lawyer. She's taking us through her thoughts on the implementation of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 so far. The conversation, as we come out of the break, will be heading towards what now we're hearing, which is, it's about time we started auditing this Constitution and seeing what changes are important, what changes are necessary, and her thoughts on that particular process and how it's taking place. This is a Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation, broadcasting on Spice FM, on www.spicefm.co.ke, on Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter, and also on KTN Home. On the line with us this morning is Alice Wahome. She is the MP for Kandara Constituency. In the room, as always, this morning, Eric Latif, Nduoko, and C.T. Muga.
Mheshimiwa, I'd like to shift gears a little bit, if I may. There has been talk, both in the print media, social media, that, well, one, Jubilee is imploding. That's one. Two, there's been talk that the implosion of Jubilee has brought about two factions, and that one of those factions, again it is being said, to which you belong, has decided to actually play the role of the opposition in Kenyan politics. How true is this?
Good. As a member of Jubilee, I would like to be very candid on this subject. And I belong to one of the organs. You could say two organs. The parliamentary group is part of the organs that should manage Jubilee affairs. And then from the Jubilee parliamentary group, there is also the National Convention, where if you really want to consult Kenyans who are Jubilee members, then you can call a convention. Parliamentary group does a lot of consultation because of parliamentary work, and of course in liaison with the executive. There have been issues, and they have come out to the public that the all is not well within the party organs and within the management, purely because you cannot have keen officials responding to each other in the manner that has happened. And secondly, that the organs that are supposed to deal with these issues do not and are not allowed to meet. With the management, of course, you have the Secretary General, who is the head of the Secretariat, and then reporting, of course, to the National Executive Committee. You have seen certain changes that are said not to have been properly consulted, in terms of making and arriving at those decisions. So it's not okay. Some members are good, some members are said to be bad. Members should be loyal, they shouldn't question. Members should pay homage to certain offices, to certain individuals. I think it is not okay. The management of a party that is running and that has been mandated by the country to govern should be well managed, should be a showcase in terms of how things should be done. Jubilee has failed Kenyans, and I don't know. I don't want to. I think all of us could have had a
role to play.
But you see, the leadership of the party is with His Excellency the President as the party leader, and his deputy. And when you listen to the conversations around those quarters that are taking away the party, they say there is only one head of state, as if there were possibilities of two heads of state. The Constitution is clear. We elected His Excellency the President, but there are people who want to run away with the party, and actually, and I think their intentions are clear, is to block or the deputy president, who is the party leader, from participating in the governance of the party, and with the sole aim of blocking him from running.
So with the
Take, for example, a vice chair, David Morade.
So can I ask you before you go to that, Mheshimiwa, so with the would-be implosion then of the party, is there a section of this party then that is said to be standing in as the opposition?
You know, as a member of parliament, if you asked me, you know, we were supposed to have, we are not supposed to agree. Even in a house, there are some disagreements, but it is how you deal with those disagreements that can make the home manageable or unmanageable. In a company or in a business, there are rules and regulations and codes of conduct. If you follow the codes of conduct, the party document as written, then we would not be having this problem. For now, yes, the Kiawereke team seem to be saying they are the owners of the party. The Tangatanga, or people named as Tangatanga, then seem to be opposition. Why? Because they have said no to certain misconduct, to disrespect. They have said no, you cannot treat people that way. Even when you look at our constitution, there is space and place for expressions, for discussions, for participation within political parties.
But the manner
so
in
you
which...
can now just come within a political party and start managing it like your own shop.
The manner in which the Tangatanga wing of Jubilee was conducting itself for the past 2 years, the first 2 years, for example, of this second administration, is what would be, you'd be accused of having gone all out. You're all boisterous, you are loud, you are appearing in all manner of meetings, and you are also castigating the Kieleweke side of the Jubilee, and to some point also pointing towards feeling a vacuum because you were feeling like there was no proper leadership of this party. So when the leadership of the party wakes up, why do you complain?
You know, you can't wake up and then start running it as your own outfit. You are supposed to be guided by the Constitution. You are supposed to look at the rules. You are supposed to visit the document, engage the party documents. And there would be no problem with this. If it is disciplinary, then there are laid down procedures of how you discipline an errant member. You know, before even you reach disciplinary committee, then there is consultation, there is calls, there is conversation. What happens to those conversations, Eric? And when you speak, then you become the bad guy or the bad boy, or you are said to be disrespectful to the head of state. You know, that kind of dogmatic or simplistic way of handling party organs and the party, which is governing the country, then raises questions as to whether actually then you are doing well.
So are you saying essentially that the things that we see, if we're taking Tangatanga now, the things that we see the Tangatanga side taking issue with, had there been, according to you, proper consultation from the party leader in the way in which things were executed over the last few months, that you would not take issue with those particular things?
I think the party leader, with all due respect, has left too much leeway to people who are not working within the party document. He may mean well, he may want to give them maybe space to work, but I think people like Morade, people like Tuju, should not be anywhere in Jubilee House. They have expressed their voices and views in terms of who they will stop from running in 2022. They have also said, and they are not expressing themselves as individuals because that would be okay, but they are expressing themselves from the seat of Jubilee, from the seat of the offices that they occupy. And of course, they have even proposed, like Murate has proposed, that Jubilee will not be having a candidate. And he's doing this as a vice chair and sending threats. You know, those are very annoying things. And I want to say that the country should be watching and looking at some of these people and asking themselves, how would they have the audacity to do the things they do unless they are getting a cue from a very powerful hand within the Jubilee or within the government, and of course with the top top leadership's blessing, how would you propose that an ODM candidate in Orange House would be our party leader? Is it that you have looked around and seen that we are dada heads, all of us, that we cannot as a party be able to produce a candidate? You see, every party has a major objective of producing leadership in the country. So if for Jubilee then we do not have material for presidency, we should then be folding up. You know, what are we saying?
Is this why then that Tanga had started campaigning for the deputy president as early as 2018? Because you wanted to position a Jubilee candidate well enough to the public?
That is okay, Eric, because you might decide that the race for going to Nairobi will start this morning. Another person might decide that I will start in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that, because we have freedom to think and to have political affiliation within the party. You can have those discourses. You can express yourself publicly. This is not the first time.
Can you also make decisions then at will?
It's not a decision. Those are just thoughts. You have not said the party will do ABCD.
Okay.
You are saying as Jubilee, we would want to start preparing so and so as a candidate. And it's okay. Kenyans can start looking at that person within amiable time. But you see, we haven't set up a campaign. Saying it's different from starting campaign. The campaign period will come. We have not campaigned. We have been accused when we go, to places with the deputy president. But if you look at even the other team, what have they been doing? You look at the ODM team, look at the Kieleweke team. Whenever they go, what do they go to do or to say? They go to politics. They have been politicking. The biggest politics now in Kenya is not about 2022 presidency for deputy president. It's actually the 2022 candidate for a coalition or conglomeration of
political parties and leaders
that have been meeting in Kajiado. That is really the interesting.
Mheshimiwa, if
it is still 2 years, Eric, to elections. Then why would this same team that has been very offended then start telling us, look, prepare for a referendum? We have not, as a country, consulted sufficiently, and why would you tell Kenyans to prepare for a referendum? Let me ask.
Mheshimiwa, this is C.T. Muga here.
Yes,
if I hear you right, what you're telling us is that the Jubilee Party doesn't have internal mechanisms of checking its office bearers, like, say, the party leader, the vice chairman, and
Secretary General,
and that and other members, amorphous and otherwise, and that what we are hearing playing out as Tanga in Kieleweke is essentially a disagreement within Jubilee for lack of operational procedures of how it should conduct its business.
Where there is smoke, Muga, there is fire. I say that we have party documents. We also have a manifesto to deliver services to Kenyans. But the party organs are available. They are there. They are written. They are supposed to be guiding those conversations, those engagements, those processes. But nobody cares about what is the party organ. If these people are not respecting the Constitution, what are you talking about a party document? These people are returning this country to the dark days.
Again, if I hear you, you're then saying that the party is an individual or a few individuals and not...
It's a few individuals, which we never knew it will be eventually a few individuals. It is true. The party is right now being managed like a kiosk.
What are your next steps then? Because you sound completely disgruntled within this particular party, you sound like you really do not want to belong to this organization anymore.
I am
next
a
steps?
member of Jubilee. I have a 5-year term. Going forward, people have tried to do all manner of mudslinging, all manner of intimidation, all manner of threats and calls, including removal of security from members of parliament who they think are supporting His Excellency the Deputy President, so that they can toe or take a certain political line or affiliation. It is not that they are saying go and work. It's because they are saying, why are you supporting so and so? Hold back, withdraw. do not support this person? Or why don't you change your line of, they are not changing. Change your line of address. We want you to stop campaigning. We want you to move from this camp. They have divided us into camps. But when we campaigned, we were one house. We were one team. We made promises to Kenyans. We also had agreements among ourselves. We had a family that was warm, that was loving. We had a family that had leadership. We had a family that worked together. This family now works for, it has been hijacked. There are, of course, guests. The handshake brought in guests to the party, and the guests are happy and clapping and fueling the fight. So therefore, the leadership of the party needed to clean up, or and it needs to style up and work the right way. We never knew, surely, Jubilee.
Mheshimiwa, did the guest bring the problem to Jubilee, or did the president simply bring out the problem that has existed in Jubilee?
I think the guests are just happy and sitting pretty to watch and see. I don't want to really, we have...
So there was a problem with the siblings within Jubilee. At some point, Mheshimiwa, your party leader spoke out and said, let us reduce the campaigns, let us reduce the political rhetoric about 2022 and focus on the present. But your wing of Jubilee, the Tanga wing, did not listen. In fact, the conversation around the ground, the conversation among the leadership of the Tanga wing was even going as far as saying the ground has shifted in Mount Kenya. If you were the party leader, wouldn't you take the kind of action that he has taken?
The ground has shifted towards what? If what we were doing is to engage the Kenyans, is to work with the Kenyans, is to do development, is to have His Excellency Deputy President commission a project, is to have the President also commission a project. If that is politics, then allow us to do politics. We are not religious leaders. We are not shop owners. We are politicians. I don't understand how Kenyans would expect Alice Mudhoni Wahome, even though I'm going to start to open a project, not say one word of the political direction the country is taking. I think people are trying to box members of parliament into a certain box, and it will not work, Eric and Muga. Muga.
Yes, Mheshimiwa.
When you come to Spice FM, you have a subject that you have to prosecute. We know what you do when you come here. So this talk is a narrative that was brought by the people who felt that the deputy president chances and the arrangement for Jubilee that was there before we folded the other parties has a very big platform to actually market himself.
Mheshimiwa, I love your passion and I love your focus on the positions that you hold. But let me ask, as a politician, would you say that the voters in your neck of the woods in the Mount Kenya region support your view and that of your faction?
To get voters on your side, you would have to be near to the voters. You would have to deliver some of the promises that you made. You would also have to be reminded by the voters that you told us ABCD. The Mount Kenya region and Kenya as a whole that voted for His Excellency the President, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, the majority of those voters, Mount Kenya included, are still where they were. They would like to support Uhuru Kenyatta and His Excellency the Deputy President, and they would like a joint venture, a joint effort to actually bring the country together. The reason Jubilee was put together was to unite and unify the country. And we have covered about 41, I believe, of the counties with representation from the mandate of the people of Kenya. So Mount Kenya region, and I can tell you, and they know it, you will find like 80%. And the people are just quiet right now. They don't want these squabbles. They don't want the fight now. But they believe that we have a promise to keep. I don't want to call it a debt. We have a promise to keep.
Mm-hmm.
We are mature people. We are considerate people. We work as teams, and they are not stupid. I think they will make the right decision. Yes.
Finally, Mheshimiwa, as we come to the conclusion.
Talk the way I'm talking. And you know what? They also feel very neglected by this government.
As we
You know, by
conclude,
presidency.
as we conclude,
Yeah.
and that in fact, on that point that you've just said, the frustration that they have with the government, they feel neglected by this government. When it comes to the next election in 2022, assuming that the deputy president is also on the ballot, should he not be judged as the deputy president and deputy party leader of this Jubilee and this government that has let them down?
I think the baggage will be left with those people who have hijacked Jubilee. The baggage of failures and inability to deliver on the promises that Jubilee gave will be left with, the baggage will be left with those who have said that, you know what, we have other candidates, you know what, don't go this way, you know, the people who do not now want Uhuruto. I think they'll be left with the baggage. Kenyans expect that delivery of service by a government that works together would be a unified effort, you know, a joint effort. And you cannot then, there is a dishonesty approach to the whole issue. There is a character and assassination. There is a narrative to even use institutions of power, institutions of authority in this country to isolate, to depict the wrong character of the deputy president. But that Kenyans are now not interested. They're interested with now food on their table. Kenyans are interested in service delivery. They are waiting for water. They are waiting for health services in their, you know, universal coverage. They are waiting for job employment for the youth. They want proper use of the funds, that the revenue, you know, you have seen the theft that is occurring, you know.
Under this Jubilee administration.
Yeah, under Jubilee administration.
Of the president and the deputy.
That baggage, I can sit here and say he will be able to vindicate himself.
We'll wait and see.
Given the position.
We thank you very much. We thank you very much, Alice Wahome, MP for Kandara, for speaking to us this morning. We'll invite you again for a continuation of this conversation, especially now looking at the run-up to 2022. It sounds like you're firmly behind the deputy president in whatever form or shape that he'll be in the ballot.
It is the people where I come from also, and Kenyans.
So you're presenting the people.
Yeah.
I see.
The people.
Thank you very much, Alice.
The people. Yeah. Thank you very much for.
No, thank you, Mheshimiwa.
Thank you. Thank you. Asante sana.